He's angry about mortgages. It's Angry Mortgage. He's swearing. He's cursing loud. He's old. He's opinionated. And he's been doing this so damn long. This program is about mortgages, and this is mortgage advice, but the advice may not apply to your situation. Contact licensed mortgage professionals for specific recommendations before you make decisions about mortgages. You may not agree with Ron, but if you don't, he thinks you're wrong. Oh, and did we say there is a lot of swearing?
So the background, if I try to really simplify, is that there became a whole system in the GTA of buying condos, which is it fair to say it takes between, now obviously there's a huge planning part to this. There's a huge planning phase, right? It's like before you get to the point of putting the shovels in the ground, putting the backhoe in the ground, putting those, getting started on the condo project. Let's pick just a generic 250 unit condo project. That how long before from the time you buy the land to you start digging, how long is that typically?
So you buy the land, you would typically spend a year or two on entitlements, so getting your permits, often longer, 2 to 3 years, especially the projects that are at risk right now because a lot of them went through entitlement during COVID.
Sure.
And that was just a mess. So, maybe you bought land.
What's entitlement for the audience?
Getting from a piece of, let's call it raw land, so like a parking lot in the city of Toronto that's zoned to be a parking lot, to a piece of land that you can put 250 condo units on. So that includes like often a OPA amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, building permit. So like architectural massings.
Are there a shit ton of reports you got to produce for that?
Yeah, tons. Yeah.
Tons of tons.
Pages and pages of reports. So
that's where the 3 years comes from?
Yeah, 3 years, let's call it. And then typically in order to get bonded, so in order to sell units that are going to attract buyers, to
start your sales center. Okay.
Yeah. You would need to have site plan approval from the municipality so that you can get a Terry-on bond or some sort of guarantee to ensure the deposit so that buyers are actually willing to buy in that building without
so
taking
it's legit. It's all bases are covered.
Yeah. And then you would go to sales, and then once you've sold, then you've hit your pre-sale target, you'll get a construction financing.
What's a typical pre-sale target for the folks out there?
70%.
70%. Okay. So you gotta have deposits and contracts signed for 70% of the 250 units.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I guess it's worth noting, I'll maybe just inject this early. A lot of builders would hit that 70, and some would, and now looking back, they had great foresight, but some would sell the entire building. 100%.
Some buildings sold 100%. Some developers sold 100% of their building.
Yeah, but
what was the motivation to keep the 25 or 30%?
Developers are bullish by nature. I mean, like you have to be to get into that business, and they were right for the 20 years when you and I were wrong, right?
Fuck yes, absolutely.
From 2000 until 2020.
I've been wrong for long. Okay,
right? Yeah, and so their bullishness served them well, and so they kept doing it. And so they would say, okay, well, if I only have to sell 70% of the units, I'm only going to sell 70% of the units, because the 30% that I'm going to take possession of on closing or trickle out between now and then, I'm going to make more money on.
So if it took me 4 years to get the shovels in the ground, because then I had to complete my 70% pre-sales, and I got 250 units, I got 70% sold, I've kept 30, but I will start digging, start building, start getting to a completion point, and then maybe towards the end, maybe the last 7 or 8 months, I'll start selling the remaining 30% at which are sometimes choice units, right? Like they're
yes and no. So typically they'll it would really vary, but sometimes you'll see a lot that get blown out, like the really easy ones to sell. Sure. And that usually ends up being, that's the reason we have so many small units, is like the buyers were attracted to the lowest price point. And so you would sell a lot of that stuff. So choice, yes and no, but like usually your good stuff goes first. Some developers would have the foresight to hold back the better units, and they might be better off today. But honestly, in a lot of cases, it's not. It's kind of like the project has momentum. People are talking about it. It's an exciting project. And now all of a sudden, because your phase 1 sales went so well, your phase 2 or 3 demand is a little bit higher. You can charge a premium. You can actually sell those shittier units to the buyers who have that FOMO from phase 1.
I know there's some listeners out there in in Dartmouth and Medicine Hat and 100 Mile House, all across Canada, who are saying, these guys sound like they're getting a hard-on over fucking condos. I mean, like, it's exciting. It's got a lot of buzz. Well, folks, I hate to break it to you in smaller communities across this country, but yeah, there are absolutely, it's possible in Toronto, at least it was for prior to the last couple of years, it was possible to achieve an erection over a condo. I mean, that is possible.
Many people did it. Too many, as we're going to learn.
Too many, exactly. So let's think about it. So this developer who kept like 30% of the units, he would sell a bunch off, and then the building would complete. Yeah. It would convert to a condo corp because he had enough units. He had enough people who they showed up their deposits, they got their mortgage, and it went smoothly. It converted to a condo corp, and then he could sell his individual units even after the building was fully completed. And he might even realize even greater profits at that point as he trickled those out. And finally, he sold every one of the units, or the builder sold every one of the units. And the idea was always for 25 years, probably 20, 25 years, this system worked well. Yeah. It worked almost flawlessly, right?
If you like the pod, well, don't just sit there. Go to YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and all the other ones and like the pod. And don't forget to subscribe so we can keep being angry at mortgages and swearing about mortgages. Angry Mortgage could use your support.